This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. It finally happened. The Justice Department under President Trump has dropped all charges against Mayor Eric Adams, and if that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. This is great news for the president. He now has a mayor of New York City who is completely beholden to him. A puppet, basically. It's great news for the mayor. He gets to avoid a trial, stay out of prison, and keep playing the role of a public servant while dining with the city's glitterati. But what about the grand jury that indicted him in the first place? What about the prosecutors who built the case against him? What about the evidence? Does any of that count for anything anymore? According to the memo justifying this decision, the charges against Adams were politically motivated retaliation for his criticism of Biden's border policy. But if that's true, why not let a judge and jury decide? Why not let Adams prove that in court? That's how justice is supposed to work. Instead, we get a memo filled with laughable excuses, including the claim that Adams is too busy fighting crime and illegal immigration to deal with his own corruption charges. And just for good measure, they throw in a completely unrelated jab at the Brittany Griner prisoner swap. It reads less like a legal document and more like a political hit piece. Let's be honest. This isn't about dropping the charges. This is about control. The DOJ has made it clear Adams is still on the hook. The case could be revived after the 2025 mayoral election. In other words, play ball or we bring the charges back. This is absurd. It's absurd. Former federal prosecutor Daniel Richman put it best. Groveling to the president really pays off these days. And boy, has Eric Adams groveled. He's cozied up to Trump, softened New York City's sanctuary laws, and done basically whatever else the president wanted. And now he's being rewarded for his loyalty. So where does this leave New Yorkers? We're stuck with a mayor who has a get-out-of-jail-free card so long as he stays in line. We're left wondering if our justice system still applies to the powerful or if it's just another tool for political bargaining. And we're watching once again as the rich and well-connected bend the system to their will. A grand jury saw enough evidence to indict, but apparently that doesn't matter much anymore. What matters is who you know, how well you bow, and how much power you can trade. Welcome to justice in 2024. Don't get me wrong. I would still take Adams over a lot of the other people that are running for mayor. But you can't just ignore the fact that a grand jury indicted him.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. It should go without saying, but apparently it needs to be said again. Do not park in front of fire hydrants. Early Sunday morning, tragedy struck in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. A fire broke out in a 4-story building on 80th Street, and by the time the FDNY arrived, flames were already pouring out of the third-floor windows. Firefighters sprang into action, but they ran into a completely avoidable obstacle. 2 SUVs illegally parked in front of fire hydrants. Seconds matter in a fire. Lives depend on how quickly firefighters can access water. But instead of immediately hooking up their hoses and attacking the blaze, these first responders had to waste precious time working around illegally parked cars. And the consequences were devastating. A 37-year-old man lost his life. A woman and a 2-year-old child were critically injured. FDNY Commissioner Robert Tucker didn't mince words, saying there's no doubt that the cars that were parked on the hydrants have slowed down our members from engaging in firefighting tactics. He also made a direct plea to New Yorkers, please do not leave your cars on hydrants. Let's be clear. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a matter of life and death. The rules about fire hydrants exist for a reason. We all know parking in the city is a nightmare, but it's not an excuse. Is saving yourself a trip around the block really worth endangering lives? Imagine if it were your home on fire, your loved one trapped inside. You'd want firefighters to have every possible advantage in getting there and putting that fire out. You'd want them to have immediate access to the hydrant. But because of 2 selfish, thoughtless drivers, that advantage was stolen from the victims of Sunday's fire. We'll never know for certain whether that man's life could have been saved if firefighters had faster access to water. But what we do know is this. Parking in front of a hydrant delayed their efforts, and that is totally unacceptable. I hope they find whoever was parked in front of the hydrant, and they deal with them pretty harshly. More than just a $150 summons or whatever it is. There ought to be some serious consequences. So let this be a wake-up call to you and to all of us. A parking ticket is nothing compared to a lost life. Next time you think about pulling up in front of a hydrant, ask yourself, is it worth it? Because one day it could be your life or someone you love hanging in the balance. I mean, surely there's got to be a handicap spot you could park in. Just kidding. Just kidding. Seriously, don't park in front of hydrants. To be.
Beam me up!
Continued.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
For years, critics have called New Jersey's black bear hunt cruel, dangerous, and unnecessary. But now, a former state lawmaker is raising an even more alarming issue. Is the hunt actually rigged? Former State Senator Raymond Lesniak argues that the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Fish and Wildlife Council, responsible for approving and regulating the bear hunt, is controlled by a private interest group, the New Jersey State Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs. That's right. The very people who benefit from hunting are the ones given the power to decide if the hunt should happen. If that sounds like a conflict of interest, that's because it is. The law that created the council in 1945 mandates that the Federation recommend 6 of its 11 members. Lesniak says that's an unconstitutional delegation of legislative power, giving hunters an unfair grip on state wildlife policy while sidelining the interests of the broader public. As he put it, the sportsmen's clubs are not one of the 3 branches of government. He's right. State officials argue this is just a policy disagreement, but if Lesniak is right, it's much bigger than that. This is about whether New Jersey's government is allowing private special interests to control public policy, an issue that should concern everyone, whether you support the bear hunt or not. The bear hunt has always been controversial. Various governors have canceled it, reinstated it, and even limited it to state lands. But if it turns out that the whole process is rigged from the start, then the debate over hunting ethics takes a backseat to a far more serious question. Are we letting a private club dictate state law? If that's the case, that is totally unacceptable. The lawsuit is making its way through the courts, and it may end up before the state Supreme Court. In the meantime, this needs to be investigated. If the system is indeed rigged, the bear hunt shouldn't just be reformed, it should be stopped. New Jersey residents deserve policies made in the public interest, not in the back rooms of special interest groups. It's time to pull back the curtain and see who's really calling the shots. I have never been hunting. It's not really my thing, but I've heard so many stories and perspectives in defense of hunting from friends of mine and family members who are hunters, and they make a very compelling case. Look, if you eat an animal, you're just as guilty of taking an animal's life as a hunter is. The big difference is that animal is abused for most of his life, kept in captivity. The hunted animal has had a very good life. I can't argue with that. It's not for me. But whether you're pro-hunting or not, this is totally unacceptable.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
One thing that many of you may be aware of, because Curtis Sliwa has talked about it, Sid Rosenberg has talked about it, and a lot of other people have talked about it, and it's been in the news, is that I am running for office in New York City this year. I've not talked about it on this show for a variety of reasons, namely because I don't want to have any sort of accusation that I'm using the radio to try to win an election or run afoul of any CFB rules or FCC rules. But pretty soon we're going to be approaching a time where I'm probably not going to be able to stay on this radio station, at least until after the election. I don't know when that'll be, but based on what our owner said on Sid Rosenberg's show yesterday, it sounds like that day is fast approaching. So I just wanted to take the opportunity, because I'm not sure when that day will be, to really thank you for listening. We are the number one overnight show in New York City, and I don't mean we're number one in a certain demographic. I mean we're number one AM, FM, any format whatsoever. And I've gotten to know so many of you in person, getting to meet you at events and things like that. I've heard from so many of you via email and snail mail and social media, text message. Even your criticism is welcome, because it really makes me feel like people are paying attention to what I'm doing. And I have to tell you, the opportunity to be on this radio station, 77 WABC, which is not only my favorite radio station now, but has always been my favorite radio station from the time that I was 7 years old, is really just such a dream come true. I hope my days on this station are not over, but to have had this opportunity over the course of the last 5 years to do this has been more than I could have ever dreamed. So I want to thank you for listening, but I especially want to thank our owners, John and Margot Katzimatidis, and our president, Chad Lopez, for the opportunity to do this show. I know we've been doing things a little bit differently than what most radio shows do, but I am hopeful that our days on radio continue. So there's that. All right. A lot to get to this hour, and we will. Oh, by the way, and if we're off the station ever, you can bet we're going to continue on our syndicated network. So there's a whole lot of other stations around the country that carry our show, and you can listen online to any of those great affiliates, or you can listen on the podcast, right? If you're ever wondering where to find me, you could always just email me, frank.morano@wabcradio.com, or just find me on social media. Lot to get to this hour. What do you say we get to it?
Beam me up.
To be continued.